Waste no more time arguing what a good person should be. Be one. Marcus Aurelius. That's it, my friends. That's the punch-in-the-gut truth most people avoid. But here's the thing. Respect. It's not something you ask for. It's not something you chase. It's not earned by playing mind games or putting on some performance, hoping someone will finally notice your worth. Respect is commanded. It's felt. It's the invisible force that moves before you, the silent energy that makes others pause when you enter the room. And today we're going to shatter the lies that keep you begging for crumbs of respect and show you how to make anyone respect you instantly. No games, no begging, just pure, unapologetic Stoic power. So before we dive in, take a second, hit that like button, subscribe, and tap the bell, because you're not here to stay the same. You're here to grow, to claim the respect that's been yours all along, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. So, stay with me. Hey folks, imagine this. You walk into a room, maybe it's a meeting, maybe it's a family gathering, maybe just a casual get-together. You haven't even spoken a word yet, but eyes start to follow you. Not because you're loud, not because you're flashy, but because there's something about your presence. Solid, unshakable, like a mountain that doesn't flinch no matter how hard the wind blows. That's the kind of respect I'm talking about. It's not about raising your voice or forcing your way into conversations. It's about being the mountain. Calm, steady, commanding. Respect flows to those who don't need it to feel whole. But here's the lie we've all been sold, my friends. They told you if you were nice enough, if you explained yourself clearly enough, if you tolerated just enough disrespect without rocking the boat, you'd earn respect. But let me ask you, how's that working out? How many times have you bit your tongue, smiled through the insult, explained yourself again and again, only to feel even smaller? That's because respect doesn't come from how much you give to others. It comes from how much you refuse to take. It's about your standards, your energy, your calm refusal to let anyone shake your foundation. And that's where Stoicism flips the whole game. Marcus Aurelius didn't need to shout to be heard. He didn't need to beg for acknowledgement. He mastered one thing: himself. He knew that the power to command respect starts and ends within. Your mind, your reactions, your choices, that's where the battle is won. You don't control what others think, but you control how you show up. And when you show up anchored in your values, in your self-respect, people feel that. They can't help but respect that. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we have to walk around like stone statues, never cracking a smile. Nah, that's not what life's about. Sometimes, having a little fun, sharing a laugh, that's part of the charm too. But it's about knowing when to laugh and when to stand your ground. Picture a lion. It might roll around in the grass with its cubs, but when it stands, the whole savannah feels it. That's the energy we're tapping into today. So buckle up, because we're about to break down how to carry yourself with such unshakable presence that respect isn't even a question. It's a given. We're talking body language, eye contact, boundaries, silence, and that inner calm that can turn any room in your favor. Write this in the comments to claim it. I command respect. Say it, feel it, show the world you've arrived. And trust me, you'll want to stay with me until the end of this one. It's going to change the way you move through life. Now, let's get into it. Number 1, the invisible signal, confidence before words. It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live. Marcus Aurelius. Let that sink in for a second. The greatest fear isn't losing life. It's never fully stepping into it. And you know what keeps most people from truly living? They're too busy waiting for others to validate them, waiting for a nod, a handshake, a good job to confirm they matter. But here's the hard truth, my friends. If you're waiting for respect, you're already giving your power away. Respect is not something you sit back and hope for. It's not a lottery ticket that might just land in your lap if you're nice enough, patient enough, quiet enough. Number respect is an invisible signal you broadcast before you even open your mouth. Think about this. Have you ever walked into a room and noticed how some people command attention without saying a word? Maybe they're not the loudest. Maybe they're standing quietly at the edge. But you feel them. Their presence is like gravity, pulling attention in without asking. And then there's the opposite. Someone walks in, fidgeting, shoulders hunched, avoiding eye contact, maybe even overcompensating by talking too much, trying too hard. You can feel their lack of confidence before they've even said hello. Now, here's the lie most of us have been fed. If I just explain myself well enough, if I try hard enough to be likable, people will respect me. But no, respect doesn't start with what you say. It starts with what you carry. You carry it in your posture, in your energy, in the silent belief that you are enough, that you deserve to be here without proving anything. Like a lighthouse standing tall while storms crash around it. You don't need to move to be seen, you need to stand. But here's where the fear creeps in, doesn't it? You might ask yourself, what if they don't respect me? What if they think I'm not good enough? Those thoughts, those are the storms. They push you to shrink, to explain, to chase approval like a leaf blowing in the wind. But what does Stoicism teach us? You have power over your mind, not outside events. Respect starts right there, in your mind, in how you hold yourself, even when you feel the doubt creeping in. Let me give you a metaphor to paint this clearer. Imagine two fires. One is small, flickering, easily snuffed out by the slightest breeze. The other is a steady flame, burning quietly, fiercely, from deep within. It doesn't need to roar to light up the room. That steady flame. That's your internal confidence. It's the fire that fuels respect, felt before it's ever spoken. People sense it. They can't always explain why, but they know when they're in the presence of someone who's lit from within. And look, I get it. This is hard. You've been taught to seek validation outside of yourself, from parents, teachers, bosses, friends. You've been conditioned to think respect is something you earn through constant proving. But that's the lie, my friends. The truth, respect is attracted to those who respect themselves first, not in arrogance, not in ego, but in that quiet, unshakable belief that I belong here. I am enough. So how do you begin to send this invisible signal? Start with the way you stand. Shoulders back, chin level, eyes up. You don't need to puff up or posture like a peacock. Just be solid, like the ground beneath your feet. When you speak, speak from that place, from your center. Not to impress, but to express. To share what's real for you without the fear of how it will land. Write this in the comments to claim it. I carry respect within. Show yourself, show the world. This is the beginning of a shift. The moment you decide you're no longer waiting for respect, you're living it. You're becoming the lighthouse. You're becoming the steady flame. And stay with me, because what's coming next is going to deepen this power even further. We're going to explore the kind of calm that makes others lean in, that makes your silence louder than their noise. Trust me, this is where it gets real. Number 2, the power of unshakable calm. Command the room without raising your voice. No man is free who is not master of himself. Epictetus. Let that one hit you right between the eyes. Master of himself. Not master of the room, not master of other people's opinions. Master of himself. That's where real freedom lives. And that, my friends, is where real respect begins. Because let's be honest, how many times have you seen people try to dominate a room with volume? They talk louder, gesture bigger, try harder to force respect. But the louder they get, the smaller they seem. Why? Because true power doesn't make noise, it makes presence. Think about it like this. Have you ever been near the ocean during a storm? The wind howls, the waves crash, chaos everywhere. But deep beneath that surface, miles below, the ocean is calm, unmoved. That's where we want to operate from. Not reacting to every wave, not trying to shout over the storm, but holding that deep, unshakable calm that radiates strength without saying a word. But here's the lie, the trap that so many fall into. If I'm calm, I'll look weak. If I don't react, they'll think I don't care. Number. That's the game the insecure play. The truth, calmness is the ultimate flex. Calmness is the weapon they never see coming. When the room gets loud and you stay centered, people feel it. When others react and you pause, when others escalate and you breathe, you become the anchor in the storm. And everyone, whether they realize it or not, looks to the anchor when the waves rise. Let me paint you a picture. Picture two people in a heated discussion. One's voice is rising, hands flailing, emotions boiling over. The other stands firm, breathing steady, voice even, eyes clear. Who's really in control? Who do you respect more? Exactly. The one who's mastered themselves. I've been there too, folks. I've felt that heat rise in my chest when someone disrespected me or tried to provoke me. That urge to react, to match their energy, to prove I wasn't someone to mess with. But every time I reacted, I handed over my power. Every time I raised my voice, I showed them they could pull me out of my calm. Until I learned what the Stoics knew all along: control yourself, and you control the room. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's not just philosophy, that's a life strategy. Your calm is your shield, your sword, your silent declaration that you are unshakable. But I know what's probably running through your mind right now. How do I stay calm when someone's pushing every button I've got? It's tough, I get it, but here's the secret. The pause. That sacred pause between their action and your response. That's where your power lives. That's where respect is either gained or lost. When someone disrespects you, when the tension rises, pause, breathe. Feel that space expand between their storm and your ocean floor. Then choose your response, not from a place of reaction, but from a place of mastery. This calmness, it's not weakness, it's a signal. It tells the world, I am not moved by your chaos. I am not controlled by your disrespect. And people feel that. They respect it, even if they don't understand why. So here's your affirmation, folks. Say it loud, write it in the comments, own it. I am the calm in the chaos. Show yourself. Show the world. You don't need to raise your voice to raise your respect. You just need to stand in your calm like a mountain stands in the wind, unmoved. And stay with me, because next we're going to talk about boundaries, the invisible lines that turn respect into something magnetic. You've mastered the calm. Now we're going to show how to make people respect those lines without ever having to draw them twice. Trust me, this is where it gets powerful. Number 3, boundaries are respect magnets. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. But here's the twist, my friends. When you show others who you are, make sure it's someone they have to respect. And how do you show them? With boundaries. Firm, quiet, non-negotiable boundaries. Not walls that shut people out, but lines in the sand that say, you can come this far and no further. The kind of lines that aren't drawn in chalk, they're carved in stone. Let's get real for a second. How many times have you felt someone step over your line? Maybe they made that sly joke at your expense, interrupted you for the third time, asked for one more favor knowing you'd say yes. And what did you do? You probably let it slide, right? Because you didn't want to make a scene, because you were afraid of looking difficult. But here's the lie they don't want you to wake up to. Every time you let someone cross your boundary, you teach them that your respect is negotiable. But respect, folks, should never be negotiable. Imagine a river. Without banks, without clear edges, the water spills out, floods, loses its direction. But with solid banks, that river carves mountains, powers cities. Your boundaries are the banks that give your life power and direction. Without them, you spill everywhere, trying to please, trying to avoid conflict, trying to be liked. But when you set those banks, when you hold those boundaries, you become focused, powerful, respected. But here's the fear that holds most people back. What if they leave? What if they think I'm too harsh, too cold, too much? That fear, that's the test. That's where you either stand tall or shrink small. But let me break the lie for you right now. If someone leaves because you set a boundary, they were never meant to stay. And if someone stays because you have boundaries, that's the kind of person worth keeping. Stoicism teaches us to focus only on what we control. You can't control how people react to your lines. You can only control whether you set them and whether you hold them. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Well, my friends, what color is your soul when you tell yourself you're not worthy of respect? What color does it become when you believe setting a boundary makes you selfish or unkind? That's not stoic. That's surrender. And you weren't built to surrender. I remember a time when I struggled with this myself. There was someone in my life who constantly pushed my limits, always asking for more, always expecting me to drop everything for them. And because I didn't want to be the bad guy, I kept giving, over and over, letting them cross the line. Until one day I realized I wasn't gaining their respect. I was losing my own. That's when I drew the line, calmly, firmly. No anger, just a quiet, steady, "This doesn't work for me." And you know what? They backed off, and I stood taller. Setting boundaries isn't about aggression, it's about clarity. It's about sending out that invisible signal that says, I respect myself enough to protect my peace. And trust me, people feel that. They sense that. They may not like it at first, but they will respect it. And those who don't, let them walk. So, here's your challenge, folks. Start identifying where your banks have softened. Where have you let the water spill out? Where do you need to carve out clearer edges, not with anger, not with defensiveness, but with calm certainty? Because boundaries aren't about shutting people out, they're about keeping your respect in. Write this in the comments to anchor it in your mind, in your soul. I am not afraid to set the line. Show yourself. Show the world. Because once you set those boundaries, respect doesn't just visit, it stays. And stay with me, because next, we're going to unlock one of the most powerful tools you already have, the language of the eyes. The kind of eye contact that speaks louder than words, that demands respect without saying a thing. This is where we take it to the next level. Number 4, eye contact, the language of power. The soul, fortunately, has an interpreter, the eye. And let me tell you, my friends, The eyes speak louder than 1,000 words ever could. Before you open your mouth, before you say a single thing, your eyes have already introduced you. They've told the world whether you believe in yourself or whether you're shrinking away, hiding behind your words. And guess what? People pick up on that faster than you can imagine. Let me ask you, have you ever locked eyes with someone just for a moment and felt something shift? Maybe it was a boss, maybe someone you admired, or maybe even someone who challenged you. You felt it, didn't you? That unspoken connection, that quiet recognition that this person knows who they are. That's the language of power. And the best part, it doesn't require you to say a single thing. But here's the lie we've been sold. They tell you that words matter the most, that the right phrase, the perfect comeback, that's where respect is earned. No, my friends, respect is felt before it's heard. It's felt in your presence, in your posture, in your eyes. The eyes are where confidence lives or dies. Picture this: 2 warriors on the battlefield. Neither one has drawn their sword yet, but their eyes meet across the field. One stands steady, gaze unwavering, calm like a still lake. The other fidgets, glances away, unsure. The battle is over before it begins. That's what eye contact does. It's the silent signal that says, I am here, I am unshaken. But here's where fear creeps in. I know it. You're thinking, what if I hold their gaze and they challenge me? What if they see my fear? What if I'm not enough? That voice, that doubt, it's the real opponent. That's what wants you to break eye contact, to look down, to show submission without even realizing it. Let me break that lie right here. Eye contact isn't about dominating others. It's about standing with yourself. It's about saying, I see you, but I also see me, and I'm not afraid of either. That's power. That's what people respect. But let's be real. It's not always easy. Holding someone's gaze, especially when they challenge you, can feel like standing in front of a fire. You might feel exposed, vulnerable. But that's the point. That's where you forge your confidence, right in that moment. Because respect doesn't grow where you're comfortable. It grows where you stand firm despite the heat. I've seen it firsthand. I remember sitting across from someone who questioned everything I stood for. They pushed, they prodded, trying to make me flinch. And for a moment I wanted to look away to break the tension. But I held my ground. I let my eyes do the talking. And you know what? They backed down. Because eye contact isn't about the words. It's about the energy you hold behind them. Now, let me hit you with a metaphor that sticks. Eye contact is like a bridge. When you hold it, you're saying, I'm willing to meet you here, but I'm not stepping back. It's not a wall. It's not aggression. It's connection with boundaries. The bridge is open, but it's strong. You're not collapsing under pressure. So how do you apply this? Start small. The next time you speak to someone, hold their gaze just a second longer than you're used to. Feel the discomfort rise, but don't flinch. Let that moment stretch. That's where the magic happens. That's where respect is born. Not because you're forcing it, but because you're standing in it. And remember this, you're not just looking at them, you're looking at yourself reflected back. Every time you hold that gaze, you're reminding yourself that you are worthy of respect. You are here. You belong. So here's your affirmation. Write it in the comments. Claim it as yours. I meet life eye to eye. Let that be your silent declaration. Show yourself. Show the world. And stay with me, because next, we're going to dismantle one of the biggest traps that steal your power. The need to explain yourself to small minds. You don't owe anyone your peace, and I'll show you exactly how to protect it. Let's keep going. Number 5, don't explain yourself to small minds. Never explain. Your friends do not need it, and your enemies will not believe you anyway. Now that's a truth that cuts right to the bone, my friends. Yet how often do we forget it? How often do we find ourselves explaining, over-explaining, justifying, defending every decision, every boundary, every move we make? And for what? To be understood by people who aren't even capable of seeing our vision, to be approved of by those who decided long ago not to respect us. Let me ask you something straight. How many times have you shrunk yourself trying to explain your worth to someone who had already made up their mind about you? Someone who didn't care to understand. Every word you spoke, every attempt to justify your choices was like pouring water into a broken cup. Nothing held, nothing changed. And still, you walked away drained. That's the lie, folks. The lie that says, if they misunderstand me, I must clarify. If they disapprove, I must explain. But here's the truth. Their misunderstanding is not your burden to carry. Let me give you a metaphor to drive this home. Imagine you're standing in front of a mirror, but the mirror is cracked, distorted. No matter how clearly you speak, no matter how much you gesture, that reflection will never show the real you. It's broken. And trying to explain yourself to small minds? That's like trying to get a clear reflection from that shattered glass. It's not about you, it's about their broken lens. But I know how this fear works. You think, if I don't explain, they'll think I'm wrong. They'll think I'm rude, arrogant, unkind. You fear losing connection, fear being misunderstood, fear rejection. But here's what the Stoics teach us. You cannot control how others perceive you. You can only control how you carry yourself. Marcus Aurelius said it best. Don't waste what remains of your life in speculating about others. Their opinion, their perception, that's their business. Your business is to stand firm in your truth, whether they see it or not. I remember a moment in my life. Maybe you've felt something like this too, when I made a decision that others didn't agree with. They questioned me, poked holes in my reasoning, demanded explanations, and I gave them. Again and again, I laid out my heart, my logic, my reasons, but nothing changed. They weren't listening. They weren't trying to understand. They were trying to win. And every word I spoke only gave them more ground to challenge me on. Until I realized the explanation itself was the surrender. So I stopped, I stood my ground, and I let the silence do what my words never could. And you know what happened? The conversation ended, because they had nowhere left to go. When you stop explaining, when you stop handing people your peace, you reclaim your power. And trust me, power is far more respected than explanation ever will be. Now, I'm not saying close yourself off. I'm not saying never share your heart, but do it with those who've earned the right to hear it. Those who listen, not to argue, but to understand. For the rest, keep it simple. This is my decision. No need for essays, no need for justifications. Your life is not a courtroom, and you are not on trial. Let me give you one more metaphor to anchor this. Think of a tree. It doesn't explain why it grows where it grows, why its branches twist the way they do. It stands, it grows, it reaches for the sky, unapologetically. Some people admire it, others don't notice, some even criticize its shape. But the tree, it just keeps growing. Be the tree, not the person begging others to understand your roots. Here's your affirmation for this section. Write it in the comments. Let it take root in your soul. I don't shrink to be understood. Say it, mean it. Show yourself, show the world, and stay with me, because next we're going to tap into one of the most overlooked superpowers you have, the pause. that sacred space between action and reaction where all your control, all your respect is built. Let's keep building this power. As we wrap up, remember this: respect isn't something you demand, it's something you embody. From the silent power of your gaze to the strength of your pause, every moment you choose calm over chaos, you build unshakable respect. You've learned today how to stand tall, set boundaries, and walk away when necessary. Now, it's time to put it into action. Comment below, "I command respect," to anchor this within you. And if this video spoke to you, like, share, and subscribe to join this journey of growth and power. Stay with me, there's so much more to come.